On this episode of Livin The Dream, join Captain Jimmy for part 2 of the Grouper Diggin' series.
Fish on! Oh my god!
Good one.
It's a good one, guys. Oh my gosh.
Ah, this one's pulling, Jim. Oh gosh, that's the right one. Holy cow.
Woo!
This is Livin' the Dream with Captain Jimmy Nelson. Presented by Salt Life. Live salty.
Good fish. That's what she was fighting all that time. Man, what a fish. Wow. Doesn't get any better than Baja. Awesome. Yeah, boy. That's a kingfish right there. Woo.
In Grouper Diggin' Part 1, we join Captain Jimmy and Luiza with an early start at the plantation on Crystal River as they headed out to open water. As soon as the anchor dropped, the fish were on, and the crew caught a whole lot more than just grouper.
Got my buddy Jim down here with me.
Fish on! Fish on!
Oh, I got him that time. Oh, that's a good one.
The bottom is alive.
That's a big king. Look at the size of it. Woo! There he is. There we go. That's a smoker.
And now for part 2 of the Grouper Diggin' series, where the angle cooler is stacked, and Jimmy is venting some off-season catch for a proper release.
With the red snapper, you gotta vent him, so I just vented this guy to make sure that he swims down, even though it's only 45 feet of water. I'm gonna release them one at a time, just to make sure they kick off good like that. And he took off. That's exactly what we wanted him to do. Thanks, Jim. And he's got this other one for me. Got that one all vented up for us. Another look at that double on the red snapper. Got actually a triple, a red grouper and 2 red snapper. There he goes. Look at that. See how well they swim off? That's what happens when you vent them.
Fish on! Oh my god!
Good one.
It's a good one, guys. Oh my gosh.
Nice.
Woo, you're not gonna rock me right now. I'm gonna bring you on the boat.
There you go. Well done.
I wonder what it could be. What do you think it is, Jimmy?
Probably a grouper.
You might be right.
Let me know if you need a hand.
I see color there, and it's definitely not red, so that's a good sign. Oh, it's a big gag.
Okay, I'll leave this one over here. I'm getting a little peck, but I'm gonna leave it.
There he is.
Oh yeah, nice fish.
Big gag. Woohoo!
Do this without.
That's what I'm talking
Shake
about.
loose. Wow.
Nice fish. Looks like there's a mess right here. Awesome. Excited.
Well done.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
We're getting it done.
Yeah, you just beat the last one I caught, that's for sure. What a stud. Look at that.
I love fighting these fish.
Well done.
Woo.
Look at him flaring his gills out. That's what they do underneath the rocks sometimes. See how he's flared those gills out? If they get underneath the rock, they flare them out, and it's hard to get them in. They'll actually lock themselves in there like that.
He didn't like it that much. Yep, healthy.
Fish. Woo! Oh, there you go, you got him. We were fishing rocky, hard bottom. We had some nice coral heads and stuff that we fished as well, and we also tried a little wreck, but for the most part, we were just fishing live bottom. Live bottom's an area where you have a mixture of coral and rocks and different things growing. That's why it's called live bottom, because there's live corals and live like sea fans and other weeds. And for the most part, in the depth that we were in, it was mostly just coral that was on the bottom. This is pulling, Jim. I think I got you. Oh. Well, yours still isn't unhooked. It's kind of a double. It's a triple double. I had about 3 of those in a row. Oh my gosh, that's a keeper red grouper.
It is?
It's a fatty. Look at that.
Yeah, it is.
Look at that.
Nice.
All right. Yeah. Look at him. Whoa, yeah, beautiful fish.
Double.
See, these only got to be 20 inches, the red grouper.
This guy's gonna have to look.
The gag's got to be 24.
Roll up.
Yep, that one's going back. This one is going in the ingle, buddy. Wow, look at him go. Wiggling and wobbling everywhere. And just to show you guys what I just caught that red grouper on, doesn't matter how long we hold him out because I'm sure he's legal and we'll measure him to make sure. Is an Ocean Max 11 by Maxell and a Tsunami Airwave Elite jigging rod. And this one, just to make sure I'm quoting it right, I believe is the 50 to 130. Yes, the 50 to 130 class. So it's a heavy duty rod, it can handle a lot. And there's that red grouper. I'm gonna go ahead and put him on the tape. Yeah, dump that guy. There you go. Let's double check him here. They gotta be 20 inches. He is 20 and a half, not bad. It's a keeper, you made it.
Livin the Dream with Captain Jimmy Nelson is made possible by Salt Life. Live salty. Angle Coolers, the original high-performance cooler. Sea-Deck, your boat deserves Sea-Deck. ACR Electronics, the science of survival. And by American Fishing Wire. At the plantation on Crystal River, on Florida's Nature Coast, you're just moments away from the marina and offshore fishing. Just moments away from bliss at the plantation's own spa, jacuzzi, and large in-ground pool. After a dip in the pool, cruise the plantation's dive shop, where they offer quality diving gear and a chance to swim with the local manatee. After a swim with a manatee, dive into the plantation's very own 18-hole golf course. Whether it's kayaking, swimming with manatee, world-class fishing and dining, or just plain relaxation you're after, the plantation on Crystal River can remedy them all. And now let's head back to the Gulf, where the sun is waning, but Jimmy and Luiza are still reeling the gags in.
That's the right one.
Nice.
Gosh, Jim, can't even turn the handle.
I gotta catch up to you.
Holy cow.
This ain't fair. This ain't fair right here.
There's a lot of them down there, bro. No shortage.
Wait for me.
Oh, it's a fatty.
Oh, damn.
Wow, look at that. No joke. He's barely hooked in the lip too. Don't want him to shake there. Look at that. Oh my gosh. And that is not my bait in his mouth. Let me get that line off of there. Show you something. He's got a trigger fish in here. See if he can do this without snapping me. Better grab him with the pliers. Look at that. They're down there feeding on trigger fish. That's an undersized one too. But he's not. Grouper are a really fun fish to fight because it's kind of like a sprint when you're fighting that grouper. They're gonna give it everything they have for about 60 seconds and then the fight's over. Oh, Jimbo. We are gonna pull him straight in. Well done, buddy.
Yeah.
There it is, all right. But the first 4 or 5 seconds of the fight is the most important part because you have to yank that fish up and you have to get him out of the structure. If not, he's gonna swim underneath a rock, run you around a wreck, go under a ledge. He's been catching a lot. Lots of snapper and grouper, but not the right one. There you go. All right, well done, bud. Once he's cleared from the bottom, you can give it a little bit of slack, but even at that point, that grouper's giving it everything it has to go back down, And in the middle of the water column, that's where you need to watch out for sharks and other predators that could hit that grouper when you're reeling them up.
Hey, he's over 25. He's good. Yeah, throw him in there.
Oh, shoot! Yeah. It was a lot of fun fishing out there with Jim. Jim's a good fisherman. He's a really good friend of mine. And we've been fishing together for over a decade. You know, real cool guy. And it's always a pleasure having him on the boat out there with me, pulling on a few grouper and snapper. And then Jim hooked into another grunt on the jig. He kept popping that jig and the little grunts and the grouper and everything were hitting it.
On a jig, a grunt on a jig. That's pretty cool.
Luiza was doing a heck of a job out there, man. She's always doing good with the jig, but she does great on the bottom as well. So she was bottom fishing and pulling up some grouper, and of course jigging up some snapper and jigging up some grouper. So it was with two of my favorite people out on the boat today, so it was a really fun day out there.
Oh, fish on a jig.
Nice one, Luiza.
Telling you, they love the Palomar jigs.
Dude,
there he
glows
is.
in the dark. That's why.
He's almost there. What do you got?
This one actually has the.
Oh, it's a grouper.
It's the one with the wire.
It's a red
grouper.
Another
red grouper on the jig.
with the wire.
Look at you getting
With
jiggy
the
with it.
wire.
Dang, you're
Check it out.
tearing it up on the jigsaw.
I guess this is grouper candy.
Yeah, I would say grouper is one of my favorite fish to catch, and snapper, and of course we can catch both of those fish year-round here out of the plantation on Crystal River.
This is the macro color. They've been loving it.
We can catch kingfish and cobia from spring through fall. The only time they're really not here is in the wintertime, but I've caught kingfish in December and even January before, which is very unlikely. But the majority of the time you're catching them spring through fall, but year-round on the grouper and snapper. Got another one. Oh my gosh, and that one's even better. You might want to check your bait. I don't think you got bait anymore. Lots of grouper. Whew. Oh man, guys, if you're gonna book a trip out of the plantation, there's so many good guides out there you can go with too, because I do not charter. I mean, there's Mario over there, there's Dan, there's Clay, there's Eric. There's a lot of different people that you can choose and go with. This one actually hooked him on the outside of the face, and he's not gonna be quite big enough anyways. We'll let him go. There he goes.
You're watching Livin the Dream with Captain Jimmy Nelson, presented by Salt Life. We'll be back for more Livin the Dream right after the break. Livin the Dream with Captain Jimmy Nelson is made possible by C&H Lures. Be a winner with C&H Lures. Plantation on Crystal River, the place to stay and play along Florida's nature coast. Yozuri, fish the best. Cayman Islands Angling Club, come experience sport fishing in paradise. And by Tsunami, awesome tackle.
One thing that you're guaranteed to see in the winter if you go to Crystal River is manatees. Crystal River is known for manatees. It is one of those places that's pretty much known worldwide for being one of the best places to swim with manatees in clear water. I've lived in Florida my whole life, and I've been all over the place, swam with manatees all over the place, and seen manatees everywhere, and I've never seen such a huge concentration of manatees anywhere else in the world besides Crystal River, Florida. There's a lot of other things that we saw while we were down there swimming with the manatees as well. We saw some schools of mullets swim by, we saw some bass, which is always cool to see. Big schools of mangrove snapper hang out in there. You see a little bit of everything in there. You can see brim, bluegill, different types of minnows. The best part about diving with the manatees in Crystal River is that the water is crystal clear. No matter how cold the air temperature gets, the water right there at the spring stays at 72 degrees year-round, so it's pretty comfortable to swim in, and it's pretty comfortable for the manatees, so they'll just kind of sit there all winter long. And And if you've never swam with manatees before, I would highly recommend checking out the Plantation Adventure Center, booking a trip, and doing one of these manatee tours because it's so worth it. It's very inexpensive. It's a great way to spend a day or a half day on the water with your wife or your husband or your kids. It's a family activity that everyone can do. The skill level to swim with the manatees is not very high. You don't have to be a diver or anything like that. All you have to be able to do is put a mask and a snorkel on and be able to swim in the water with them. There are certain sections of the head springs that you're not allowed to swim in, and a lot of the manatees know that, I think, because a lot of them just go in there and they just sleep. It's kind of neat seeing a manatee sleep because it'll actually be resting on the bottom, and then while it's sleeping, it'll rise to the top of the water, get some air, and then sink back down. It's a pretty cool thing to see. Swimming with the manatees is another reason why I like the plantation on Crystal River so much, because they just have so many activities. Besides the golf and the fishing and the offshore diving and the weight room and the awesome restaurants, you have all of these cool creatures that are right out of your back door. I mean, you could literally walk right out of the hotel room's back door and you can see the manatees swimming in the canal right behind there. You jump on a boat, 5 minutes down the river, you're able to swim with them.
And now back to the Gulf, where the grouper just won't quit biting. The crew has filled their limit, but grouper are always a good fish for a game of catch and release.
Got another one. Oh my gosh, and that one's even better.
The day is winding down, but the fish still just won't give up the bite.
Gosh, they just have so much kick, man. Grouper are such strong fish. It's one of the reasons I love them. One of my favorite types of fishing, next to dolphin fishing, is grouper and snapper. Just love the way these fish dig down, man. It's like a short sprint. It's just one of those real fast fights. They only last about 30 or 40 seconds, sometimes a minute or so. It's a real big one, but they just put everything they have into it. That's what I love about grouper fishing, man. It's so much fun. The fight is what it's all about, on top of the great eating. Excellent table fare. Oh, there he is. Oh, gosh. Now I got to beat a shark up, and that's a good fish. Got a big hammerhead down there that we just saw swim by, hoping he doesn't come back. Oh, yeah. Another gag. Whoop.
Grouper, you've just been saved.
Yeah, got our limit, so I'm just gonna de-hook him and release him. He might be an inch or so short anyways, even if we were able to keep any more. This one's not huge, but he's not small.
I see it. It is a gag.
This is so far down in that water when it's clear like that.
Looks like it's getting bigger. It's getting close. Big gills.
Nice healthy fish. Very healthy fish. And gag are more of a cooler water fish too. Once the water temperature starts dropping like it did, we had our water up into the 90s just a couple months ago, and now we're in the mid 70s. Once you get down to the low 70s, high 60s, I mean, these things are gonna be jumping in the boat. They just love that cooler water, kind of like redfish. They can handle hot weather and cold weather, but they prefer the cold, as long as it's not too cold. There you go, Luiza.
Okay, this is a little bigger
Good.
fish here.
I got one I'm about to release.
You're watching Livin The Dream with Captain Jimmy Nelson, presented by Salt Life. We'll be back for more Livin The Dream right after the break. Before the break, Jimmy and Luiza dove with the manatee at the plantation. Back on the water, the day is coming to a close, but the grouper aren't giving in.
But they just put everything they have into it. That's what I love about grouper fishing, man. Oh, there he is.
So long as the fish are biting, Jimmy and Luiza will keep on dropping. And Luiza has just hooked into another one. This is what we call living the dream.
It's a red and a gag.
A red and a gag, side by side.
There you go, you got it. Two most popular species to catch here in Crystal River is the red grouper and the gag grouper. We also get scamps and even blacks, but these are the main two that we're getting. And this guy's not big enough, so we're gonna go ahead and let him go.
Same thing with this one.
Belly flop.
There you
I had to go move
go.
quick on him. He hit it with one ferocious thump. Well, guys, it's been a lot of fun today, and we've caught a ton of grouper, but we're out of time. It's probably about an hour and a half before sunset. We got to get back, fillet these fish, and have the West 82 Bar and Grill at the plantation cook them up for us. And of course, this one wasn't big enough, but it's another pretty gag. No shortage of them, as you guys have seen today, kind of like the red snapper. They're just everywhere. That's a little dink, but we're gonna end on that. Call it a day, and I'll see you guys next week for another episode of Living the Dream. The plantation on Crystal River has so much to offer. Everything from great golfing to great diving if you like swimming with manatees or scalloping or spearfishing offshore. All of that stuff's available here, as well as the amazing fishing as you guys have seen in this show and other shows that I've done here. Once you're on site, you really don't even have to go anywhere else because everything you need is right there. It's an amazing place to stay. I love the plantation, and it's always one of my favorite shows to do because I know we're gonna catch good fish when we go fishing out of the plantation.
For more fishing and diving action, follow along on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter at Captain Jimmy Nelson. Living the Dream with Captain Jimmy Nelson was brought to you by Salt Life. Live salty.